Hel- Hello, and here's another edition of You Need to Ask the Question. At the end of Parshas Beloscha, it talks about vows, making promises, keeping to our word, right? And the Torah says that Torah brings the medrash at the end of Parshas Beloscha that there were four people that asked improperly, asked a question from Hashem, made a vow to Hashem, and a conditional vow. If Hashem does X or saves them, and Y will happen. Three of them, four of them all asked improperly. Three of them were answered properly. Hashem sent a proper, and their misstep, their verbal misstep, didn't lead to any negative ramifications. And the fourth one, though, wasn't. So who are these four people? The Gemara in Tainus actually brings this medrash as well. Brings this as it brings it, but it only mentions there were three people asked improperly, two were answered properly, and one wasn't answered properly. So we'll discuss in a moment the differences, maybe. But the four people were Eliezer, the servant of Abraham. The next person was Shaul HaMelech, who the first king of the Jewish people. The next person was Caleb ben Yefuna. He was the first shofet after Yeshua to take over. And the fourth one was Yiftach Hagiladi. So these four people asked improperly. Three of them were answered properly, meaning Eliezer, Shaul HaMelech, and Caleb ben Yefuna, and the fourth one, Yiftach, wasn't answered properly. So what's the difference between the three that were answered properly, or the two that were answered, the three were answered properly, and the one that was answered improperly? And so why did Hashem pick and choose that? Oh, this one, I'm going to let his words, so to speak, hang him out to dry. So what are the situations? So Eliezer, Eved Avram, when he was looking for a wife for Yitzchak Avinu, he said, the girl who will come out and ask to give me to drink, and also my camels to drink, that will be the wife, the one I'm going to choose for Yitzchak. He made a vow to Hashem. However, he left himself over that an improper wife could have still done it, somebody who wasn't fitting to marry into the family of Aram, because she could have been a kind-hearted individual, and therefore he merited to do those actions. However, Hashem answered him properly and sent him Rivka Imena. By Shaul, he had made a similar request. He said, whoever defeats Goliath, I will give my daughter to him in marriage. Once again, he left himself over. It could have been anybody. It could have been a slave. It could have been somebody who's a mamzer. It could have been anybody in Klal Yisrael. And therefore, if they would have defeated Goliath, he would have had to give his daughter to him. He made the promise. However, Hashem answered him properly, and David, as we know, killed Goliath, killed Goliath, and he was saved. The case of Caleb ben Yefuna is when in the beginning of the Sefer Shoftim, Caleb ben Yefuna makes a declaration: whoever conquers this place called Beis Sefer, right, Kiryat Sefer, if he destroys Kiryat Sefer, he conquers Kiryat Sefer, he will also give his daughter to him as marriage. Once again, leaving himself open to anybody taking up the mantle, even somebody who isn't fitting to marry his daughter. However, he was merited that his brother Othniel ben Kenas was the one who was able to conquer Kiryat Sefer, and subsequently he gave his daughter to him as marriage. So that was no problem. In the case which many of us know about Yiftach, who was one of the judges of Klal Yisrael. So when he went into battle, he made the declaration, if Hashem gives over the enemy into my hands, the first thing that comes out of my house to greet me when I return safely, I will give as a sacrifice to Hashem. And Hashem did not allow this to come to no ill. So when he won the battle, he came home, and the first thing to greet him was his daughter. And we know the story of what happened, that he had to send his daughter away, and she lived in exile. Depending on how different Meforshim explain it, the story of Yiftach's daughter, which has become known a symbol of a tragic tale, even after a victory. So Question is why wasn't Yiftach answered properly? He was also trying to, and why were these other three answered properly, even though they all, according to the rabbis, set up their promises, their vows improperly. Okay. And on a side note, not to get too far afoot, that Kiryat Sefer was actually, according to some, was not an actual place. It was a sefer, meaning book, meaning that when Moshe Rabbeinu died, the people were so upset and mourned so grievously that there were certain things of Torah that were forgotten. However, Othniel ben Kenaz was able to look into the Torah and use the methodology that we learned in order to reestablish these halachas that were forgotten. And there was over 3,000 supposedly, and therefore conquering Kiryat Sefer was what was needed in Klal Yisrael, so these things shouldn't be lost. However, as we see, so the question really still remains: is what was the difference between the two? These three that were answered and the one that was not answered properly. It's possible to say that when Eliezer and Shaul and Caleb made the declaration, they even though they misspoke, the only way that somebody can actually fulfill the condition is that they needed a merit. They needed to be a special individual. They needed to be somebody who was there to help to save the Jewish people. Right? Each one was the future mother of Klal Yisrael, the one who will defeat Goliath in battle, the one who will who conquer Kiryat Sefer. Needed somebody to be a special person and needed a merit in order that they themselves should be able to be victorious. And as well, none of the three got any personal gain out of this. There was no glory to it. It was just Klal Yisrael needed it. They were stuck in a situation, and therefore they did their best to say, this is the condition that I'll know that this is the right choice I'm making, or this is the right thing. So each one didn't really gain anything from it personally. Klal Yisrael gained from it by having the Shaul with David being victorious and saving the Jewish people, with Rivka and Menu coming in part of the Jewish people, and with Caleb reinstituting these halachas. However, Yiftach did not make his condition regardless, on the condition, or make it something that somebody needed any special merit to fulfill the vow. His vow was separate from it. He asked Hashem to save him, and in return, he's going to do a favor. He's going to give a sacrifice. He's going to dedicate something. If you do me this favor, God, if you help me out, I'm going to give something special. I'm going to give a korban to show how much I appreciate it, and therefore I'm going to do it. So this was more for his own self-aggrandizement. Hashem could save Klal Yisrael without the korban. Hashem doesn't need our sacrifices in order to create victory for us. That's not the point. We're not making promises and deals with Hashem. Could be that's the reason why he wasn't answered properly, and it was in the most tragic fashion of giving over his daughter to be, quote unquote, a sacrifice, what exactly happened to her. The point being that we see the differences that our words matter, what we say have an impact, and sometimes when we leave ourselves open, we still need Hashem to help us make sure that nothing bad occurs from our words, because our words have a real impact and create a reality. And that's the whole point of vows. And secondly, is that we don't make deals with God. We are under the impression that when we do something for God, God needed it. It's a benefit for Him. None of the things that we do in this world is something that God needs. He doesn't need our tefillos. He doesn't need our mitzvos. It's not something that God needs in order to be. He doesn't need our kavod. He doesn't need our honoring. He doesn't need our praise. Hashem created this system in order to give us a chance to become close to Him, and give us a chance to merit the connection to eternality, forever. If we look at our mitzvahs, if we look at our avodas Hashem as a way, as we should, to benefit ourselves, and we're careful with what we say, and we recognize that the things we say are a reality, we should all, with that, we should be zocha to only have Hashem answer us properly, even in times when we sometimes are not as careful as we should be with our words. We should be careful with our words, however we speak to people, and we should be zocha to our geula quickly. B'mheira b'yameinu.